Well, hello and welcome again to our reading of the Pentacontai of Thucydides. This is book 1, and in the earlier chapter the Athenians had brought back their women and children from where they had placed them during the Persian Wars, and they then begin to rebuild the walls. And so chapter 90 begins Lacedaemonioi de Aisthomenoi Tomelon. The Spartans, having perceived Tomelon, that which was coming, that which was about to be, having perceived what was coming, that is the rebuilding of the wall, Aelthon Presbea, they came on an embassy. Now we get Tarmen, and that is balanced by tot de pleon a couple of lines later. It's a slightly asymmetrical construction because we have on the one hand Tarmen and then tardopleon, but for the most part. So interesting construction here. So Tarmen, so partly also. Autoi, they themselves. Now, instead of getting a main verb, we have a participle with an, rather than using the subjunctive. For they themselves, or literally, would be seeing, so would see, hedion comparative more sweetly. In other words, they would have preferred, mate ekenus, neither them, that is the Athenians, nor alon medena, nor anyone else, ekonta, having tekos, a wall. Greek does double negatives, but not in English. So they would have preferred neither them, the Athenians, nor anyone else having a wall, todepleon, but they came mostly because, and now we get a genitive absolute, ton summarkon ex otrinonton kai phobumenon. Mostly because the allies were stirring them on and fearing toplethos, the multitude, to tenauticul auton, of their navy, of their nautical power. So mostly because the allies had stirred them on, and the allies were frightened of the size of the nautical power. So plethos, probably size here. Which, agreeing with plethos, prin uk huberke, which did not exist before, and so they were frightened of that, and also the tolman genomenon, the boldness, the daring that had happened, that had developed, the tain goes with the tolman, in the Medic War, in the Persian War. Aixiun de autus me takisdain, so they, this is the Spartans, asked them, that is the Athenians, not to build a wall, alakai, but also, now the main verb here we need is down here, so they, after the verb of asking, we get the infinitive, sung kath helene, this is from sun, kata, and hyreo. So kat hyreo, to pull down, and the sun along with them. So to join with them, and then we get metasphone, along with them. So to join along with them in pulling down tus peribolus, the circuit walls, tone of those outside of the Peloponnesus, and the malon is rather here, which we need to take with the alakai. So, but rather to join with them in pulling down the circuit walls of those outside of the Peloponnesus, those for as many as it stood. So for those for whom a wall was still standing. Tomin boulomenon kai hupopton tes gnomes, ou deluntes es tus Athenaius, hos de tu barbaru e althis επέλθοι ουκ αν εκόντος απ' εκαρου πόθεν, hospe nun ekton thebaion, homastai. So long sentence here, slightly complicated one. So it's ou do luntes, not making clear their boulomenon, the thing which they were planning, so their intention, and the suspicion of their opinion, or perhaps their viewpoint. So not making clear the intention and suspicion behind their attitude, their viewpoint to the Athenians. And we have to understand saying something, so saying or something like that, but maintaining that or saying that. Now, we get a genitive absolute with two barbarou, and that's going with the participle ekontos, and it has an an with it to give indefiniteness as well. So but saying that, the barbarian, that is the Persians of course, now echo, so would not have anywhere, they would not have, or perhaps would not be able, for echo here, so they would not be able, and there's an infinitive here, they would not be able, hormasthai, to set out from a secure place somewhere, if they did, if again they might attack, as now, understand, they did from Thebes. So slightly complicated Thucydidean sentence here. So they were saying that the barbarian would not be able, so rather the barbarian, if they might attack again, they would not be able to move forth from some secure place somewhere, as now they did from Thebes. And again, we have Ephasan, they said, perhaps they maintained almost, they said that the Peloponnesus to be hikanein, a sufficient place of retreat and a place to move from, pass in for everybody. In other words, if the Spartans, if the Persians came again, everyone could go into the Peloponnesus. That would be a secure place of retreat and a place from which to attack. The Persian general Mardonius used Thebes as his headquarters, which is what the reference here is. But the Athenians, Gnome, on the advice of Themistokles, they answered the Spartans who had said these things that they will send hos autus to them ambassadors regarding these things they are saying, that they will immediately send them, and having done all that, ape laxen, they dismissed them, they sent them away. So just that little bit again. So on the advice of Themistokles, they answered the Spartans who had said these things that they will send to them immediately ambassadors regarding these matters they are speaking of, and having done all that, ap elaxan, they dismissed them, they sent them away. But Themistokles bid them apostellane, to dispatch him, that's the heauton, so he said to dispatch himself, so him, Hostakista, as quickly as possible, as 10 Lacedaemona, into Sparta, and Helumenus, having chosen other ambassadors, pros heauto, in addition to himself, he said not to send them out immediately, but episkone, to delay or hold them back, Mekritos to Heos, until such a time when the wall, when they might raise up the wall, hikanon, possibly adverbial here, or perhaps they might raise up the sufficient wall, or the wall sufficiently, hosti, so as to apomakestai, so as to defend themselves, so as to fight back from, so to repel an assault, ektu anankaiotatu, from the most advantageous height. This is a genitive here, of course, from hupsos. And they said that everyone, pan dame, this is an adverbial here, en masse, to build the wall, all those who were in the city, and in square brackets, both them and their women and children, sparing nothing, idiu, so phytomai takes a genitive, so sparing neither private, idiu, meti demosiu, nor public building, from whence there might be some use, there will be some use for the task, for the work. But kathhairuntas panta, but pulling everything down. And he, having explained all these things, literally having taught them all these things, kai hoop at apon, and saying in addition tala, other things, that he himself, praxoi, optative, that he would manage take for ta eke. So, and talking about all the other matters that he himself would deal with there, oiketo, he departed. So he went, of course, by himself. Kai esten Lacedaemona, and having come into Sparta, pros ae, he did not go to the archas, perhaps to the officials, perhaps this is the archones, but diege, he delayed, and pru fas idzeto, so he made excuses. Kai hopoti tis, and when anyone tone on tone in tele, of those being in charge, those being in power, whenever any of them might ask him, hoti here probably is for hot tit, so for what reason, so why, he does not come, historic present, into the commons, this is that word we saw before, used in Herodotus, to the commons, to the government, to the officials. He said that he was waiting for his fellow ambassadors, askolios detinos uses, genitive absolute, some business, a certain business having arisen, for the uses, and so since a certain business had arisen, they had been hupolephthenai, left behind, because he arrives there by himself. Pros dekesthai mentoi, and he said that he was expecting them, hexane, future infinitive from heko, to be about to come quickly, and he said that he was amazed that not yet are they present. And that is the end of chapter 90.